if you're not here for the CheckIn app, then you're in the wrong place. So we are going to talk about the new and improved CheckIn app. So the big thing that happened here is the development side moved from the RunSignup team to the race day team. And so you might not see as many updates as you would think. This is the first release. However, you will see more frequent updates and changes. So this might also be a good time for you if you've had something in the back of your head, like a feature request or an improvement that you've really wanted to happen for a long time, to post that in the chat as well. I know Matt Avery has our GitHub open and at the ready for any great suggestions on making the CheckIn app better. So today's topics, first off, you'll notice a new skin update. No longer is the blue icon or the black icon if you've been on our platform for 3 or 4 years. It moved over to the two-tone blue icon, and now Race Day Check-In is a green icon. So some of the things, and then this is not necessarily the exact order we're going to go through, but some things we are going to talk about, and that is bib assignments and lookup, barcode and QR code scanning, participant resolutions, giveaway management, corrals and relays, USAT membership and waiver, and then at-a-glance reporting, and then data sync with registration and results. So again, we're not going to go directly through that in a list. We're going to kind of hop around with the functionality and use of the CheckIn app. So why use the CheckIn app? One of the biggest reasons is it syncs with the entire Race Day suite for timing, scoring, and registration. So for those of you that are using Race Director or Race Day Scoring, it's a huge benefit because there's no more saving a USB drive and running it back and forth. Updates might take 30 to 60 seconds, depending on your internet or Wi-Fi connection, but it is bidirectionally syncing with the entire suite. It also allows for easy to use dynamic bib assignment. For those of you that do not know what dynamic bib assignment is, this is when you have something like a cool bib like this with a QR code or a barcode at the bottom. And as the athlete or participant walks up, they don't yet have a bib number assigned. And by using the CheckIn app, either on an Android or iOS device, you can use the camera and scan that QR code and auto assign or in real time assign that bib number with that QR code. Another huge benefit, especially in this day and age, is scaling quickly with settings saved to the cloud. And the benefit there is because right now we're wanting to limit across any event that you're putting on, you're wanting to limit lines, you're wanting to limit any kind of bottleneck. By being able to scale out, like, oh my gosh, we have 50 people in line, you can open up a new line very, very quickly by pulling out somebody else's phone, pulling the settings down from the cloud, and within 60 seconds, you're going on with an additional line. And if you're doing dynamic bib assignment, everything can be spread out. And so there's also great reporting for check-in totals by device and check-in bandwidth over time. I've done some talks on this previously. I think it's a very underutilized thing. And so hopefully, I know timers have heard a lot about this. I've given a lot of talk to timers about it. For you race directors, you might not. So it is something that I would strongly advise you to use as a tool, especially if you've been using the CheckIn app in the past. So you might actually have this data and not realize. So where is Race Day Check-In? So Race Day Check-In is under Race Day Tools and Race Day Check-In. And once you click it, you've got several different options. And if there are specific questions about web check-in, check-ins, or bulk check-in, we can go over those if we have time at the end. I get the feeling like we won't, because there is a lot to cover between the mobile app and the check-in stats. So before you open up the app, don't just go searching for the app and download it and then call me and say, you're a liar, my event's not on there, how much do I have to pay extra? That's not how it works. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the back end of RunSignup, and you do have to go to Race Day Check-In under Race Day Tools and click on the mobile app. And so it's super easy to get set up. All you have to do is enable the app. You do have to enable the app within RunSignup. Then you can search for your event, you can update your settings, and you can begin checking in. Obviously very oversimplified, but we're going to go through it step by step, and you can make this as simple and streamlined, or you can have 50 different settings if you'd like, whatever floats your boat. So we're going to enable the mobile check-in app here under Race Day Tools and Race Day Check-in. So once you get into, this is RunSignup. So again, we're not on our mobile device yet. We're on RunSignup, which I guess if you're on an internet browser, you can do this on your mobile device. So you're going to go in and you're going to have a shared password and a password hint. All of your account managers will strongly advise you to make your password hint your password. The reason being, if for some reason you send something out or a volunteer is doing it and the poo hits the fan and nobody knows what's going on, we can't help you because we don't know your password. And if they don't know your password, that could be step one in the issue. So your shared password does not need to be something incredibly secure, and your password hint can quite literally be your password. It makes things much easier on the support side. Please do not set your password to what you would use to get into RunSignup or your bank account or something like that. That's not my suggestion at all. So, and then you have two other things just below it: enable check-in at and disable at. So what this is these are the times where you can actually pull down the data. It does not mean that the data is deleted off of the device. So you can enable check-in as early as you want to. None of the athletes are using this. None of them are looking for it, and they don't have your password to get into it. So you can enable your app weeks in advance and test things out, which I would strongly advise you to do. And disabling it, you can have it go past the time that you need. So just keep in mind, this does not mean if you have an 8 a.m. start for your race and you set it to 7:55, it does not mean that you're not going to be able to check people in at 7:56. It just means that you're not going to be able to go onto a new device and download the participants at that point. So just something to consider. And I always suggest disabling check-in at like on Monday morning. A day or two later. It does not matter. Again, athletes are not going to be going in here and playing with it. So once you got everything in there and saved, you'll get a green bar across the top. It says successfully saved check-in app information. And then you can go onto the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the app itself. So once you download the app, you're going to be going in, and my suggestion for how to get started on the app is to click the settings button at the bottom. Let's see if I can get my mouse down there. So at the bottom, the settings button. And when you click the settings button, this is what pulls up. And so I always suggest changing the identifier to either whatever device name it is. Maybe you have 20 tablets and you have them stickered 1 through 20. So you could call it tablet 1 and change each one to the actual device name. That way you can segment out if there were any issues with a specific device. So all you have to do is click change identifier. I changed mine to Crisp iPhone and I hit save. And then once I hit save, the identifier is right here. So then I'm gonna go back to the home screen. So I click this button at the bottom once I've saved it. And I go into my event. And you just search for your event, you get into your event, and now all the people are in there. Then you can click your top 3, like that little hamburger at the top, and you can go and you see the race menu where you can get onto settings. So again, we are going to demo this, so you'll be able to see it in greater detail here in a bit. So once you get into settings, for this event, there's a lot of different races that are underneath. So we have a 5K relay, a test 10K, a virtual marathon. We have a bunch of virtual events actually, and then you're able to add and edit presets, and this is what they look like. So here, what we're going to do is again, these are my suggestions. You can play around with what works best for you. If this is a timed event, I would strongly advise requiring a bib number. So it starts out as optional. I would suggest thinking about requiring it. If you do not have relays or teams and you're not using group bib number, skip it. If you want the waiver required, leave it on. If you don't care, turn it off, no big deal. Because if you import people into the race, they've not yet signed the waiver. So what you can do, and we'll get to that a little bit later on, but by importing people in, you can actually have them sign the waiver during the check-in process. And so you can click on the auto show camera on bib transfer or auto show camera at bib assignment. And then when you're done editing, you can click save, and then it'll take you back out. So here are all the preset settings in the CheckIn app. And I wanted to show you all of these in one screen so that you could see how many different things that you can do. So you've got your preset name, your bib and group bib number, require waiver, auto show camera, bib assignment. So we're going to use this because, again, we've got bib numbers with QR codes at the bottom. If you've already got bibs pre-assigned, you don't need to turn that on. You've got name and event right here. So this information display starts again. Name, event, and checked-in status, you can't turn off or on. It's just on. So then you have your bib number. We want to show that. It makes things a little bit easier. In this scenario, we have waiver signed. You don't have to show waiver signed if you don't want to. I always like to see age and gender just to make sure that if I've got somebody picking up for, say, Jeff, and it's a female, you know, I'm not making assumptions, and I can actually see, oh, well, look, it says that Jeff is supposed to be a male. So then we also have a lot of other information that you can put in there. One that I would strongly advise you to leave in is giveaway. So that's going to be your t-shirt, or if you're giving away hats or whatever. So it will say the size or whatever description that you have. And it's up to you. You also have custom fields. So in this scenario, it was test, and it's you can have add-ons and things like that listed. So if people also during registration, not store purchases, but for add-on purchases, you can have that within the CheckIn app that says, like, we have a race that you get a baseball game ticket, and they can buy additional game tickets during registration. And so we actually have that as an add-on, and we show it in there so that way the volunteers at Packet Pickup know how many additional tickets to give to the person checking in. So you also have informational changes section, which is right here. So you can allow for uncheck-ins. Now, some people, what they'll do is they'll have two different sets of all presets or configurations. One for the volunteer, and that's where no information changes are allowed, and one for like your volunteer lead staff person kind of thing. And that is where information changes are allowed. And so the reason behind that is because you know, a volunteer that kind of goes rogue could potentially change a lot of information. So a lot of race directors have decided, you know what, I want my volunteers to not be able to change much of anything. And then I'll let my staff have a secondary set of presets, and those guys I trust to change things and change things appropriately. So the allow uncheck-ins does just that. You can allow people to clear bibs, transfer events. You can allow for USAT edits. This would be in a scenario where maybe an athlete registered with a one-day license, and then in the middle of the year, maybe they registered 10 months early or something like that. And in the middle of the year, they said, you know what, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to go ahead and purchase a full license. They can go in and edit. They can look at the card and edit now the USAT number within, and that will save back into RunSignup. You can allow corral edits and personal info edits, and you can also allow for giveaway edits. I will tell you, if you allow for giveaway edits, one thing that you need to keep in mind is if you're using oh goodness, my brain just inventories and caps on inventories and things like that. There it is. So it does not take into those into account. So if somebody's like, hey, I want to switch to a small, and you're sold out of smalls within your inventories, the app will not know that you're sold out. And so it will allow you to oversell by switching your smalls. So just please be mindful of that. So you also have some additional advanced options at the bottom, which are prevent duplicate bibs, validate bibs, and use group name during check-in. So group name during check-in is a great thing to use if you're doing a bigger relay or a triathlon relay, because maybe they're coming and you're doing everything by group and they just give you the group name. It's way easier to look up the group name there. So once you've got those settings updated, they'll be listed down here. And you can see now, instead of just the default, you'll see edit and the name of the preset that you made. So you can go through and you can leave some of as default if you want to, and you can make 10 different presets if you'd like. And so you can use a drop down, and each one of these drop downs, it'll let you select whatever presets are available. And then just below this, you can say what visible events you want. So in this scenario, we're going to say we only want to see 5K, 5K relay, and 10K. Well, why? Because a lot of these others are virtual, and so we're going to mail those out. So we're not worried about seeing all that additional data. And we've already emailed our athletes saying, hey, if you're a virtual athlete, we are trying to practice social distancing. Please do not show up to packet pickup. Your stuff will be mailed out. So this allows you to remove those extra people and only show the in-person folks. So you've got all of that set up, and now we'll actually go through the process of setting up the CheckIn app, using the CheckIn app. So we've got the presets as we want it. We're going to check in Clark Kent. So we're going to select Clark Kent, or you can search for Clark Kent and it'll pop up. You can click it, and then now you've got his information. So you click the check-in button, and keep in mind that we had the turn on camera at time of registration or at check-in. And so I've got a pencil right here just because, and this is the camera that popped up on my iPhone, and I had to put a pencil over it because it takes a photo so quickly if it can see a QR code that I can't take a snapshot. So that's how quickly it'll assign things. So I've got the pencil eraser over top of that so that it will actually allow me to take a screenshot and show you. And then the moment I took my pencil, it was like, it went whoop, and it showed me this screen. So you can see it assigned bib number 1002, and now I can hit assign. As soon as I hit assign, it gives me a validation that Clark Kent was checked in, assigned bib number 1002. And I can click next participant. And as I do that, you can see now from here to here. So, and I was messing around. It did not take me 4 minutes to do that. But Clark Kent, no bib number, and an X saying he's not yet checked in, to 1002, and a check showing that he is checked in. So once you get all those settings set up and everything looks good, what you can do is, and again, we made these settings, we showed the ones we want. Now it defaults, if you've used the previous version, you know that the left display was blank and the right display was check-in status. Well, now the default is bib number and check-in status, which is much more helpful. So if you need this changed back, just change that, and then you'll click the upload configuration button. And what this does is it uploads the configuration to the cloud. And you can name this whatever you like. So I'll just name this one my favorite configuration, hit save. You also used to not get a notification that things saved in as you want. Well, boom, there you go. Success, race configuration uploaded to the cloud. You can click OK. Now, we heard you when you said, hey, it's a problem. We've got all these configurations. I can't remove them. Well, look at this now. There's a big delete button. You can either use it or delete it. So you have the ability to delete configurations from the device. You're not deleting it from the cloud. You're just deleting it from the device. So boom, there you go. And so on to the next part, and that is requiring the waiver. So if we're finding someone, we'll just call him Silver Surfer. All of my test people are made up characters. So we look into Silver Surfer, we see, is he checked in? No. Is the waiver signed? No. So as soon as we hit check in, it says, please instruct the participant to sign the waiver using the signature area below. So if they click view waiver, they get to read through the waiver. Then they can close it. It brings you back to this page, and you can type in or write with your finger on the screen, and then click agree. Now, what does that do? It then, as soon as you hit agree, it'll say that they're checked in. And if you go into the back end of RunSignup, you can now see Silver Surfer with a screenshot of what they put inside the box with a date, time, and IP address. And then you can actually view the waiver that they signed right there. So all of that is saved within the RunSignup database, and you can, do whatever you need to do with that after the fact. So it's giving you all of that information for the waiver itself. So we also have corrals in here. What are the benefits of putting corral into this? Well, maybe you need a certain sticker or certain color bib or swim cap. We've used this for triathlon quite a bit. We started putting the corral name like 2, and instead of blue bib, it would say blue swim cap. Makes it a lot easier for the volunteer. Instead of working off of a sheet, they can work off of the CheckIn app by itself, because they might not know wave 2 equals blue cap or blue bib. It says it to them. So you can name in RunSignup, you can name the corrals exactly what you want handed out to people, which makes things much, much easier for people who are maybe not as familiar with what everyone needs. And in this scenario, you see test add-on to purchased. So again, just a reminder, you can put those add-ons into the check-in, and so each different add-on will have its own line here. So under settings, there's also a handful of other options to play with. So the first one is quick check-in. What quick check-in does, when you click that, it goes straight to your camera. And the camera can scan one of 2 things. So it can scan the QR code. If you've already got bib, now you gotta listen to me on this. If you already have bib numbers assigned and you have bibs with QR codes, then you can use this, because what it's doing is it's looking people up. However, if you don't have bib numbers assigned, you're trying to dynamically assign, you can't look up in quick check-in. So quick check-in is used, now you can look them up if everyone brings their receipt from RunSignup that has their barcode or QR code showing they registered. You can scan that. And so as soon as it's scanned, it quickly checks them in. But this is not for use. Personally, I would not use this in this way for dynamic check-in or dynamic bib assignment. So this person was already scanned. This bib number was already assigned to someone. So when I scanned it, it checked in my test son immediately. So it's a super, super quick way to get through the process. So then you click Scan Next Participant. Well, I just wanted to show you what happens if you try to check the same person in or use the same QR code. You get a warning, participant already checked in. You hit OK, and it won't check the person in again. So again, that's the quick check-in function. You also have a lock application function right here. So you can enter a 4-digit PIN and the lock application below to lock the app. So what this would be is if you have a set number of applications or a set number of devices that you want to give out to the volunteers. And so you can lock them. Now, please be mindful that if they close out of everything and remove the app off of the screen, go back into the app, they will be able to access everything again within the app. However, when you lock the application, you don't have access to change the settings. All of these go away. It just says lock application and back to races on the left. So all these other options for them to go into the backside, they all are removed. So check-in stats. This is only a quick look, but when I'm race directing, I think this is like an absolutely phenomenal tool. Most people don't use it, but what I'll do is I like, especially at like events where I know that I'm going to put people into water, or we're going to have a bandwidth control, and so I need to know how many people are present. And a lot of races before we start, medical might ask, hey, how many people do we have starting? Well, this way, I don't have to go back to check-in. I don't have to call check-in or anything, or packet pickup. I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is pull up my app, and this is a live set of data right here showing me how many people have checked in. And you can look at that, all participants, and then it's broken down by event underneath. So again, this is what I use on site, and this is what I suggest for people to use on site. They get a really quick snapshot of, like, for instance, maybe you have an 8 o'clock start and it's 7 o'clock and packet pickup opened at 6:15. So you have had 45 minutes of packet pickup, 7 o'clock, it's starting to get to go time. I'll look at it and say, okay, what am I expecting now as a race director? How many more people are going to be coming? Because maybe there was bad weather earlier in the morning and I look, I'm like, oh my God, nobody's checked in yet. So now I know that I need to get more people up to packet pickup because I'm gonna have a mad dash of people showing up late. So again, it's a really, really helpful tool on race morning. This is not the stats that I would suggest using after the fact. I mean, it's a great way to just check it real quick, but not to really run reports and dig deep. So queued edits is the next thing. So you might notice that for some reason athlete changes are not syncing with RunSignup. You need to wait 15 to 30 seconds to make sure that the data is cached, and then check to ensure there's an internet connection. And then what I do is I check to see if there's any queued edits. So if you go in, click queued edits, and you see no queued edits are found, well, everything's up to date. So nothing's being held back on the device that you're looking at. And this is per device. This is not overall. So it's only on a specific device. However, if you go in and you see something like this, and you can see a little airplane right there, I turn my phone into airplane mode to force no connection to the internet, and I can see this data. So what does this mean? This means participant with a reg ID of 413-92726 had the bib number changed. These are the changes right here. The bib number changed, the check-in status changed, and number of edit attempts is 0. I didn't try to edit anything else. So how does this work overall? Again, I turned off the internet to make all of this happen for this purpose. So it's giving me a bar at the top, no internet connection. This is a red flag, literally red flag. So again, we're really pointing out, hey, you're gonna run into issues here, but you can continue checking people in and it will update once you get reconnected to the internet. So we're gonna check in Black Widow. So we're hitting the check-in button. Again, all of this is in here. We assign bib number 845. They're checked in. We click next participant. You can see Black Widow 845 shows the green check. No one else's device is going to show Black Widow checked in. This is only on the local device because we're not connected to the internet. And if I go into queued edits, you can see, and well, you can't see that Black Widow is reg ID right here, but she is. And you can see that I changed that to 845 and checked her in. And that you can see from right here. So again, as soon as I came off of the, or as soon as I got back online, I think it synced within 8 seconds or something like that. So it's a very, very quick process. So there's also a force refresh underneath queued edits. As soon as you hit that, you're gonna get a, are you sure you want to force a refresh? This will cause all of the race and participant information to be reloaded from the cloud. If you hit refresh, you'll get a success race refresh. You might do this if there was a lot of changes at the RunSignup level. Like maybe you did a bulk transfer. You realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to import the deferred athletes or whatever. Pick your reasoning behind it. But it might take longer for those larger changes to happen. So in this scenario, you can do a bulk refresh, or you can force a refresh, and it will bring everybody back in. It doesn't delete out any of the things that you've done. It just pulls everybody back down from RunSignup. So we talked a little bit about check-in stats. I just want to show you a bit more about those check-in stats. So again, you can see the very basic level of check-in stats on the app. However, if you go back into race day check-in, you have a box over here that's check-in stats. So the benefit here is it gives you a little bit more information. So this is one of my test cases. So I have people checking in for like months and months and months. And you can see that I've got different things here. Web test volunteer 1, my name, iOS Chris. Plus you have a breakdown per event, number checked in, number of participants, the percent of people. Another option here. You can also download the checked in or not checked in. And if you go into hidden fields, I don't have a slide on this, but if you go into hidden fields on the participant search pages, you can actually add a column for what device and what time and date that the participant was checked in, and use that for exporting. So for larger events, this is super helpful. So this race had 4,500 of 5,300 people checked in. You can see they all checked in right here. We had a handful of people, 9 different devices. Well, the beauty here is there's also graphs over time as to who checked in what device. And the reason why I bring this up is because what you can do is you can see that you maxed out with this specific event. On our big day, we maxed out at about, what, 55, 56 people, maybe even 58 people per 5-minute period. This is broken up in 5-minute periods. And it's broken up by device. So if you hover over this, it'll show the total for that 5 minutes, and then a breakdown for all of these different devices and how many people they checked in. So you might say, once you start looking at this, you can easily look at bandwidth, for instance, and say, look, the maximum someone checked in a 5-minute period is whatever, 5 or 10. So, okay, now you can start doing your own math on how many people you can check in per device per 5 minutes. And you can say, look, we have maximums up here. And what I look for is plateaus. Once you start seeing plateaus, that in my mind says everyone is at capacity. Anytime you see a plateau, a peak, maybe you just had a couple more people than you were expecting for that moment. A plateau means you've got a line forming and that everyone's working as hard as they absolutely can. And so when you see those plateaus, maybe what you can do is add additional people at those times. In these scenarios, at like, I don't know, let's just go ahead and say this is 5:30 and 6:30. What we had was we had 2 dinner spots for this event. And so people could show up, they could register for dinner included with packet pickup for the next day's event. So everyone came just before dinner. So what we now know is, hey, we should probably up our volunteer load by, I don't know, 20%. Well, what about here at 9:25 in the morning? Man, we don't need to ask as many volunteers to come. So we don't need to have 20 at this time and 20 at this time. Maybe we can have 15 at this time and move 5 of them to here. And so it really helps you with your resources because volunteers on site are a resource. And same thing goes for race morning. So an FAQ, if you're like, oh man, Chris, I want mine to look super pretty like that, and I want to hover over and see, like, again, total 56 people for that 5-minute period. Here's the most. So it looks like 13 people were checked in on what's called iOS RD check-in. Well, anybody else other than that, we're only seeing about 4, 7, 3, 4, something like that. So the thing about this specific device is the iOS check-in is the standard name. So if you hover over yours and yours look like one color, wait a minute, we had 5 different people checking people in. If you didn't go in and change the device name, then this is what yours is going to look like right here. So what you need to do is you need to go back out of the race, in the race settings app. You need to click on the gear settings, the gear at the bottom, change identifier, and change the name, and hit save it and go back in. So the defaults are iOS RD check-in, I believe, and Android RD check-in. So invariably, you're going to have a high occurrences of those just because people will forget. And if you go in and delete the database within here, it clears out any old events. It doesn't clear out any of your changes or anything like that, but it will clear out your app identifier. So if your process per each race is to delete the database, which is not a horrible idea because all of your settings are saved to the cloud ideally. So you can delete the database, you can change the identifier, you can go back and search for the event, your event, you can put in the password, you can go into settings, and you can pull down all those settings that you did earlier in the week from the cloud. So before I get into demo, are there any crazy questions that I need to jump into specifically?
Yes, Chris, there's 2 that kind of the just general questions.
Okay, cool.
So again, we support this in both Apple and Android operating systems. It can be used on phones and tablets. You know, we definitely have a lot of races where they'll just pull out their phones when you start seeing the lines queue up and just, you know, use it on any kind of Apple or Android device. Question is, in your experience using Chromebooks and Android, what are you seeing timers really using for a cheaper kiosk and not having to buy expensive iPads?
So unofficially, I have a handful of these guys, which are Amazon Fire tablets. I can't officially say that, yeah, it's the perfect thing, just because you do have to jailbreak it a bit, but you can pick them up for 40 bucks a pop, or 30, 40, 50 bucks a pop. However, and they work just fine. It scans, it does everything. You do have to download the Google Play Store to it, and do a handful of other things that I would say you're going to have to learn how to do that in order to use those devices. I can't show you how to do that, but normal Android and iOS devices are a little faster, and the user experience for the volunteers a little bit better. I realize they are expensive, and if you're using a Chromebook, so just to be clear, if you're using a Chromebook, you're more than likely going to be using the web version. You can use the app, but I would strongly advise a tablet. So just like when I talk to people about, hey, what should my race day scenario be? Should I use a tablet for on-site registration? And I would say absolutely not. Why? It doesn't matter the age, people like to have a keyboard. Similarly, for check-in, people really like to have something in their hand. For the volunteers do. And so for check-in, you really want something with like a rear-facing camera. Yeah, you can pick up, you don't have to buy iPhones. You can get, I knew someone who got a number of like iPod Touches or something like that. I've not played with them, so I'm not certain how well they work, but I'd be willing to bet they work just fine. It's basically the newer version of an iPod, but it does need to have a rear-facing camera. So yeah, and I think we do have system requirements listed online. I don't have those in front of me right now.
Great. And the second general question, again, as people start really looking at using, QR codes and dynamic bib assignments and stuff, any recommendations on vendors and sources for that materials? That's kind of been a general question today.
Gotcha. So there are a number of bib suppliers nationwide. I think it would be unfair if I tried to rattle them all off on the top of my head, because I'd likely forget one. If you presently have a bib vendor that's doing custom or semi-custom bibs for you, or honestly, if you're getting stock bibs, you can likely talk with your supplier and ask if they have stock bibs that also have a variable code that you can put on there, like a barcode. A lot of there was a company that I think they're still doing like giveaway kind of free bibs almost, and they have a barcode at the bottom right of their bib. So it's a very, very normal thing. Most bib providers are going to count that as a variable text field and will upcharge you if you're doing custom bibs. They'll upcharge you, a few cents per bib. So do be wary that your price will go up slightly. But I point out to people, like, okay, let's say it goes up, 3 cents a bib or something like that. So then you're ordering a couple hundred. I mean, you're talking about, 40, 50, 60 bucks. It's not a massive change, but it is a massive change in the participant experience at packet pickup. The event that I showed you with that 5,500 or whatever it was, people checked in, the year prior, they wanted to keep things the same and didn't want to use dynamic bib assignment. And people on average were waiting 30 to 45 minutes to pick up their packet, which was a problem, obviously. However, they upsold sponsored spots on the corridor along to packet pickup. Well, they did that again the year we moved to the CheckIn app. We actually had no clue that this would become a problem, but we never had a line of over 4 people in any one line, and so that upsold corridor was actually empty. And so after the fact, we had issues of a whole different level because the sponsors were like, hey, we didn't get as much face time as we thought. So those people now, because we're going to continue moving, we want the athletes happy, and nobody wants to stand in line for a long time. So those spots have then been upsold back into the expo area.
Thank you, Chris.
Sure. Any other questions before we jump in?
I think we've been handling most of it pretty well.
Cool. All right, let's see if I can cleanly get into this. All right. So this is my phone right now, and some of these are live events, some of these are test events. So when you open up the app, and I can go out and just show you, the app there is in the middle, so right here. And so if I click on that, I land on home. And if you drop in, the first time you drop in, you're not going to have any races under my races. So these are events that I've already typed in my password. So you might see all races like that when you get in there. And it's just a random assortment of races. So all you have to do is go up to the search and search for your race. I'm just going to go in to races that I already have on here. So I'm into my race, and again, if I go back to my races, I've gone into settings, I've changed my identifier. So as soon as I hit that, I can change my identifier. And once that's done, I can click home, and let's go back into my test race that we were using. At any point, I can pull down to get a refresh. And I can also click the camera at the top right. So if I click that, it opens up my camera on my device. So I can scroll through, however, and James might have to tell me exactly what the number is. I want to say about 100 people are available on a quick scroll. It's not going to, if you have a 500, 600, 700 person event, you're not, all of them are not going to show up when you just scroll around. Having that much data just sitting there will crash the system. So instead, you can search by bib number, and it's a dynamic search. So as soon as I start getting all the letters, you can see all the information there. So if I want to check somebody in, we'll check this person, 80, 80, 80. So it brings up all the information, and we see the waiver has been signed, his age, his sex. He didn't get a t-shirt, that's fine. And so I just pulled a bib out. I know you can't see that. I just pulled a bib out right here. There you go. And so I'm gonna put that down, and as soon as I hit check-in, it's gonna open it up. And I'm gonna put my finger over top of this. You guys like my really clean, nice race directing table? As soon as I take my finger off of this, you'll see how quickly it assigns the bib. So that's how quick it was. So you can now see that this person's bib 1003 is sitting there. I still have to hit the assign button. So as soon as I hit, oh, well, it's already been assigned to somebody. Great. That's what I get for testing things out. So we'll go ahead and change it to 1004. And so it's already assigned to somebody. So we changed that bib number because I was testing things earlier. I apologize. And you can see that bib number, blah, 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 was assigned bib number 1004. So just assume that we scanned 1004. And we go to next participant. So the camera at the top would be used if everybody had if you asked everybody to bring a printout or their registration confirmation email on their device, on their phone. So the reason why I like the app is because it uses cameras. If you use the web version, you're going to be using a barcode scanner, which is light, and light reflects off of these screens. And so it's really, really nice because you can scan an iPhone or an iPad or something like that with your mobile device, and you don't have to type in their name and look for them. You can just hit the camera button, and all of that pops up as you'd like. So let's see. If we want to go into check-in stats for this race, we can scroll through who's been checked in. We can go into settings. And we can see for some of these events, we have settings. If I want to change the test 5K to a test preset, I can do that. Or I can add a preset and call it, I don't know, I've never even tried to put these on there, like non-normal characters. But we can skip the regular bib number and require a group bib number and change and show the group bib number and skip the regular bib number. This is what we would do for a relay. And I'll show you a triathlon in just a moment. And so as you go down to the very, very bottom, you would be able to use group name in the bib or in the search. So we'd save that, and I don't know if this, let's see. Yeah, it's in there, boom. So now I have preset smiley face. That is absolutely the first time I've ever used non-words as a preset name. So now we can say, we can scroll down, we're still looking at the visible events, and I want to upload this configuration. So I can change this to, this is final, save. Successfully saved, and I scroll down, and boom, there it is. So if I go into it, and I can click use this, and now it's all set. And if I find, I don't know if I have any relay people in here, but regardless, I can go in to a triathlon, and I go into settings, and you can see this is a try. So here we have individual, 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 relay, relay, and then virtual. So if I scroll down, you can see that I have an individual and a relay preset. And we're looking at all of them except for the virtual, because again, we ship the virtual out. And you can see we upload this configuration. So what do these configurations look like for the try? Well, we've got bib number required. We've got the waiver required linked by transaction. This was a pre-assigned, it was a pool swim, so we pre-assigned the bibs. So I did not want to auto show camera on bib assignment since it was pre-assigned. We got bib assignment checked here, but not group bib or group name. So we need to see the giveaway, the membership info. We showed the division there because we had a custom question that was, are you age group, novice, collegiate, what have you. There was also military questions, things like that. We allow uncheck-ins and event transfers. And so that's fairly normal. However, we had a different one called a relay. And you can see we skipped the bib number and required the group bib number. We linked by group or team. We did not show the bib number, but we did show the group bib number and the group name. And this is because we're timing with race day scoring and race director for this event. And so in those scenarios, and we don't have what is your division because they didn't select a division. There's not a division for that specific relay. We allowed uncheck-ins, preserved on event transfer, and we also were doing group name. So if I go back out, you can see all of those again. If I go back out, and I'm gonna click on this person right here. So if I click on that, you can see I have linked registrations. These are her teammates right here. So I can check them in really quickly. We've got the person's name, but we also have the relay team name and their team bib number. And we've got her USAT membership number and the t-shirt size. Again, this is a pool swim, so we're not worried about giving out corral or wave caps or anything like that. So if I click on one of these names, brings up the next person, still bib number 80 in the relay team, and you can see it switched. Super handy. Well, what about if I go to active duty military, this person? So you don't have a group bib number, you just have a regular bib number. And so in this scenario, they're active duty. So they, I'm gonna find somebody who, let's go to an individual that's not checked in. So you can see, please select your division, novice. So all that information's in there at your fingertips for check-in. So we can go in and hit change event and allow for an event change for this person. And that will update and run sign up. And if you're using a bidirectional sync, like race day scoring, that will update live to the timer without having to send change forms and things like that. We actually had an event where a rogue volunteer failed to use the app at all and just started handing out bib numbers to people. I can feel the collective panic among all the race directors on the line. And we had 200 people running an event of several thousand that we didn't know who they were. Well, we had an announcer mat out and we were using the CheckIn app. And what we were doing is we were looking over the shoulder of the announcer, unknown bib numbers, assigning a volunteer to go running, kind of meet that person as they cross the finish line. And as they crossed the finish line, they walked up, used the CheckIn app and said, "Hey, what's your name? What's your name? Great job today." "Oh, my name's John Smith." And so they're typing on here. So they're going, "Okay, John Smith." Well, obviously there's John Smith in this event, but they'd find that person. So they'd find that person and it would be, they wouldn't have been checked in. And so they would hit check in and assign their bib number right there by scanning the QR code on their bib. That synced with RunSignup, which then synced with race day scoring. And before that person could get to the bananas and water at the end of the finish line chute, all of their results had linked online. So it was a really great, it was a huge headache that one volunteer decided to not play by the rules, which is a great reminder of have good volunteers. But it also shows that you can resolve issues very, very quickly and live without having to kind of go around in circles and fix things in a very manual fashion. So are there any other questions?
No, I think there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, you're doing triathlon here today. One of the things your timer, a lot of people deal with is the whole bib to chip mapping and how all that works. So just to kind of maybe socialize that with the whole group. Yeah, you can set up those mappings in the registration record and show them in check-in. There is a preset setting that allow you to show the chip to the bib mapping and actually show that if you wanted to make sure things are right at check-in time. But traditionally, that's more handled at the timer level in the scoring software that they're using. But did you want to comment about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would, in every instance that I've timed and been a part of, those chips are assigned. I mean, they can be assigned in real time, but you're doing that in your scoring software 99.99% of the time. I don't trust a transfer of that data back and forth. I want it to be native in the scoring software. And so my bib chip file would always live in scoring. You can put it into RunSignup.
And that stuff would be syncing up and then could be shown in check-in as a verification. Yeah. Avery, you're out there. Do you see anything else? We've had great attendance today and just really great questions. I really appreciate all the things. We've been trying to keep up with everyone. So again, Chris at runsignup.com, he's your go-to guy when it comes to race day and race day questions. And if anything we haven't answered correctly or completely, feel free to reach out to him. But Avery, do you see anything that you wanted to socialize?
Yeah, one of the questions that just recently came in was a really good topic of discussion for CheckIn App usage, and it's about should your staff all on race day all have the CheckIn App available so they can quickly look people's information up. And one of my favorite uses, and Chris can speak to this a little more maybe, is like having a preset or a configuration ready to go for emergency contact. So your on-course folks and water stop volunteers, they can really easily look up and see like, hey, if someone's having a problem on course, we can get their info and get their contact ready to go. And I think it's a really great use case for this app.
We've actually used that at a larger event that the medical had access to the app, and there were medical presets in there. In those scenarios, what I always suggest is to have like the day before or something like that, have a debrief for those bigger events. If you are going to segment out the use cases, only only because you don't want someone like medical. They don't care if they're a novice or a collegiate. They want to know their emergency contact. You can put medical information in there as well as a custom field so that it's there. Similarly, you don't want your just normal volunteers saying that somebody's got hypertension. And so if you're worried about HIPAA stuff, obviously that does not need to be used. But if those folks do feel comfortable enough sharing it, on, you know, so that you can share it with medical, that is another option for you to have that out there. The other side is just, so at my events, yes, I do try to have all of my staff there with this on and at the ready. Well, the biggest reason is that whole scaling quickly. Like somebody's done, my staff, I look over and somebody's, you know, twiddling their thumbs and there's 2 people in line. Why is there a line? You know, there should never be a line. If my staff is bored and they have a smartphone and they have the app and they have the preset and there's a line at packet pickup, why is there a line at packet pickup? And so it just makes things really, really easy to scale up as needed and without a lot of headache. Because if you've got the app on your phone and it's up to date, it does not take long to get into the event and download the presets and check somebody in. I would say if you're standing next to somebody, you're like, I need to help. It would take you, depending on how hard your password is to type in, if you've got like hieroglyphics in there just to make it challenging, you know, it's going to be more challenging. But otherwise, I mean, you could scale to another person in 30 seconds, maybe 45. I mean, it just would not take long at all. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing, is just being able to scale quickly.
I think the last area, the discussion that you could kind of expand on a little bit is combining Expo mode registration with race day check-in, and you know, just explaining again how all these systems are synced and integrated, and we're all working off the same data store. And so these things can be happening at the same time, and just kind of talk a little bit about your experiences with Expo mode with check-in.
Sure. So I have worked with enough events that I think that everybody's got their own opinion of how to do things. So when I give my suggestions or my opinion, it is just that, and you'll see why in a second. A lot of folks like to have registration over off to the side, and you know, John walks up, he registers, and he gets his bib and his t-shirt, and he leaves, and he doesn't have to do anything else. I don't like that model, only because if you do for some reason have a line, you're encouraging people to register late, because the late registrations, even though they paid more, they're in and out potentially. So I personally have Expo mode, private Expo mode set up at a table off to the side, where all that's literally happening is registration. And I do use private Expo mode within RunSignup. And there is a webinar on matching private Expo mode with fast registration options to the CheckIn app. And so that sync takes approximately 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And so by the time John registers and pays and does all that, and then he gets in line with everybody else, and he has the exact same experience as everybody else. And the reason behind that, in my opinion, is that, you know, yeah, he has another step to register, and I don't have to divvy out all the stuff. I don't have to take extra t-shirts over to that table. I don't have to take extra bibs over to that table. I don't have to have people that I feel confident in assigning bibs and shirts and all that over there. Everybody's in one place. I only have one registrar over at the registration table that is in charge of finances, and it's taking, you know, making sure they don't have issues with credit cards, or if for some reason we're taking cash, that can put in the cash password for taking cash. With COVID and all that, it's not something that's happening very much right now. We're encouraging everyone to register online at events that I've been a part of. But at some point, I'm sure cash will come back into the equation. And so with that, John's walking over, he's registering, and then he's getting in line with everybody else after the people that were there before him. And everything's updating and syncing in the app. And even if, so at smaller events, if you're scrolling back and forth, John might not be in there, but the moment you hit the search button and search for John, he is in there. So the scrolling option might not refresh nonstop, but the search function does. And so then John has the same experience as everybody else, because with that expo mode, it does sync with the fast registration options. You can remove the need to create an account, so they're not having to make a password and enter that in twice. You can remove, if you don't want their address, you only want their zip code, you can do that. You can change it to age instead of birth date. Obviously, if you're doing a USAT sanctioned event, or USA Cycling, or some other national governing body sanctioned event where you need that information, please be cognizant of that. You don't need to turn off all of those features to make it easier on the registrant when you're going to have to turn around and glean that information from the athlete after the fact, because you're supposed to be submitting that to your whatever national governing body after the fact. But it also pulls in your inventories, which is nice, especially if you do a good job of managing inventories and projecting out what is likely going to be consumed at your event. So if you've got low inventory, it's in there, and they have the same experience. They're not able to pick up a small at that other table that might have been sold out at the main table. But there is another video. If you go to, I believe it's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/RunSignup. There is, you can click on videos, and I did a webinar on how to set up fast registration with private expo mode, and what that looked like with the CheckIn app.
So a lot of great information here. Again, Chris at RunSignup.com, and obviously your info at RunSignup.com for your general account management and other people that can reach back into our product development. Avery is also on the line here. He is the product manager for all the Race Day suite. So again, if you have great product ideas, we've seen a lot of good ones today. Avery at RunSignup.com is your go-to person for future ideas and controlling what we're doing in development. All
right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of your day. And as James said, feel free to reach out if you do have additional questions. I'm here to help and support you. My main focus is the timers, but I know a lot of race directors do reach out, and I'm a race director as well, so be more than happy to help out where I can. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and best of luck with your events this weekend and on into a successful 2021. Take care.